So quite apart from the international dimension or the national dimension, and quite apart from the fact that professional bodies also define the world differently again, and non-departmental public bodies. If you move into the regions or the home countries, in this case in England, then you find that you get an equally interesting set of complexities, or confusing set of complexities. Now what we've got here, for example, is a classic mix of the types of organisations you will find at the regional level all engaged in creative industries, cultural industries, whatever you whichever one you want to call it. So you move here from Culture and Horticulture to the Arts Council of England, the Museum Private Wildlife Council, Sports Council, Tourist Boards, Sector Skills Councils, local authorities, regional development agencies, and so on. And that list is not exhaustive. It is not exhaustive. And when you start to do this, as I once did for an Australian colleague, Stuart Cunningham, and he wanted me to explain the complexities of the systems at the local level. And once you start to do that, and you add to this, you break down local authorities into districts, counties, parishes, etc., life in England is complex. But within that complexity, I've not even started to describe the sub-regional intermediaries that are funded often by the public purse, all pursuing different cultural agendas, such as the King's Cross Development Hackney and so on. You can name lots and lots and lots of them, which I've heard. But so you get international and national, then you get home countries, then you get regional, then you get sub-regional, you can even go local and find again the same set of complexity here. So what I'm really trying to describe here is just for the world that we live in, just how many agencies there are with different views of the world, doing different things. So if you've got these different types of agencies with different types of definitions, collecting evidence for different reasons, then we sure adds up to a fractured world. So because we don't have a consistent definitional framework, then it becomes very, very difficult to collect consistently information. So we have unrelated data collection and unrelated studies. So there's all sorts of different people doing these kinds of things, but they don't connect with each other. And they certainly don't use the same definitional framework. And there is very little comparative data nationally and internationally. Towers, well-known cultural economist, actually made this point very, very clearly in the recent report of the Arts Council, where she was looking at artists and artist employment. And she pointed out that it was just about impossible to get any comparative data of anything on the subject. And I agree. I think that increasingly this is one of the biggest problems we face. And then you get gaps in national and regional data. Because everybody's doing their own thing, there's no helicopter look at it in terms of saying, well, where are the gaps and what needs to be filled and who do we need to connect together. And then in other terms, there's a lack of understanding of sort of geographical groupings, urban centres and so on. So some cities are well developed in terms of their understanding of themselves and others not. And finally, lack of detail. Chris Smith said to us recently, when we were talking about the work we were doing, and one of the things he's repeatedly said in much of what he's written is the lack of detail of the creative industry. And one of the things that the Observatory has certainly done, and we'll talk about later, is focus on detail. And that's not what's going on generally. What's going on generally is a kind of skating across the surface of these things without diving into the detail of subsectors, for example, and really understanding the subsectors that make up these different worlds. So all of that, in my view, leads to unreliable data for management and policy decision making. So if you haven't got a very good evidence base, and if you look at other areas like construction, for example, or the health service, where they develop their evidence base very, very effectively, then they've got a great basis on which to manage their affairs and develop policy. I would suggest that we're a long way from that at the moment. We also have unreliable comparative data for evaluation and measuring performance. So if you haven't got a consistent definition framework, consistent evidence collected in a consistent way over time, then how on earth can you evaluate and measure performance successfully? I don't know. It's a bit of a guess. And then finally, weak, unconvincing and unreliable advocacy. The one thing that those in the public sector desperately need is good evidential base to advocate. And quite often there's a clutching of straws that goes on here, and grabbing information, grabbing things that might just do the job. Doesn't matter where they come from, doesn't matter what the source is, but it'll just about do. We've got to be better at it than that. We've got to actually develop a sound evidential base that supports in a quite objective way the advocacy that those people want to bring to the table.